and the new venues come and keep coming. It's the Japanese Super Touring Championship, the inaugural season, but the franchise's second visit in the season to Mount Panorama, Bathurst. The inaugural championship means anything can happen, but on a venue where there are hills, turns, as well as long straights, four-wheel drive is going to be king, and as self-evidential in the front 6 positions on the grid. 8 cars in the top 10 are four-wheel drive. Mercedes, however, have set their stall out and are going to be complete and utter favourites for this weekend by the looks of it, with the sneaky privateer, semi-privateer Nakano in the Mitsubishi in third. Honda doing their utmost on top speed, perhaps the best Australian being outpaced by just four-wheel drive power. Enough said, Jack Scaife in 8th there. Adrian Michael Rees here once again, and alongside me, Michael Swinnerton. It's always great to come back to Bathurst, even though we've been here for the Worlds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is one of the best racing circuits in the world. Can never get enough of this place.
More the merrier. The fans are back as well. They like seeing some touring car action, even if it isn't front-engined muscle cars. But a lot of fans of Mitsubishi and Subaru around here. But Mercedes are going to be like lightning out the bottle, as you can see already off the start. Four-wheel drive advantage, as was proof in the early 90s when Nissan just owned the mountain. Toyota, yes, should be the favourites, but they are trying to make up for a lack of downforce. Everyone else, though, Subarus, as you can see, well prepared. There's Nakano battling for third still. Katayama in the Mazda around the outside, maybe. No, still third. The high-speed traffic jam heads into narrow territory. Hopefully there's no pile-up. All safe and clean. Oh well then.
Well,
I
it's
say
already started.
that. And oh dear, where have we seen this before? Laguna Seca, perhaps? And it's a different car for Anthony Ingram, and he's back last. You'll notice it's 19. There's normally 20. Team Iwasa aren't here. We'll explain why later. We've already explained it, but for continuity, we shall see. And there's the bulk of the pack. Ingram will have it all to do again. Bit of front and rear end damage. But the Lotterer Schumacher combo now being caught by the Nakano Mitsubishi. Down the mountain they go.
Yeah, this is a narrow circuit, and unfortunately it appears to be a bit of a cursed circuit for Anthony Ingram. 2 trips here, 2 spin-outs.
Oh, yes. That one, though, I think he might have to own up a little bit more than the incident that was...
oh, yeah, no, that one looked like...
forced upon him, thrust upon him.
2 cars going for the same piece of real estate, which is very, very easily done at that corner. Meanwhile, rest of the field, over the top of the mountain clean, down Conrod Straight. Mostly single file, apart from the 2 Genesis cars here, having a bit of a drag race.
Winterbottom has overtook Scaife, so that's the battle for Australia right there, in amongst the Japanese contingent. Muto around the outside, outbreaks his teammate.
Job done for now. Scaife's done well to retain 10th place after starting 8th. We know these Hondas being front-wheel drive will always have... That's a dive!
That was a dive, and great on the brakes then for Honda for a change.
Yeah, Scaife definitely possibly had the extra bit of
momentum.
There's another word I'm after, but it's gone. Never mind. Either way, good move from the Honda there. And yes, doing well to retain 10th, even though we know they're going to be horrible off the line because of their front-wheel drive drivetrain. And Suzuki's still here in 11th.
Damage limitation, but I think he's going to get swamped again as the mountain looms once more. 10-lapper should be over nicely in the same amount of time as our multi-lapper at Tsukuba.
Everyone just bunching up again, going into the second sector. We've got the age-old battle here of Mitsubishi versus Subaru. Nakano in front, Takahashi behind. Battle for 4th.
This has happened before in a 6-hour race way back when. In fact, 12-hour races way back when too. Stock production level 4-wheel drive machinery, very well used in Australian racing circles.
Yeah, that was part of the reasoning for coming to this this track as a flyaway venue for the Japanese series, is they know how popular these brands are here down in Australia. And of course, it's going to make for some very good racing, so it's just a win-win situation all around for all parties, of course.
There'd have to be a word said for Nissan, but I think Nissan are in a much stronger position with their Skyline, that it wouldn't fit the plan, and anything smaller wouldn't fit the plan either, like a Micra, for example.
Well, they do have the Nissan Pulsar, which is the same size as a Mazda 3, but then they'd be in Honda territory running a front-wheel drive car, and I don't know if that's really in their best interests at the moment. And it's not like they can get a Nissan Juke down to the floor low enough, because we see a bit of a squabble into the chase, people pushing and barging.
A very tall Duke indeed. Maybe that's a formula for another championship altogether.
Potentially. Meanwhile, we've got cars tripping over each other now. We've hit that point of the race
down
already.
The inside. Nakano's on board with Takahashi behind now, getting Muto's position. Muto's fallen back into the hands of Pitsonia and is hitting every branch on the way down, because Muto's got Rustad now behind him.
Yeah, one bad corner for Muto and he's lost 3 places, because now Scape is in front of him and Winterbottom is right there in 10th, looking to overtake his teammate again. Meanwhile, here is Ellen Frentzen in 12th place. She was on the back row of the grid. She started plumb last in 19th place. She's done incredibly well to get herself up here.
I would say this one, I mean, well earned in the rain at high speed ring, but this is a performance to behold.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering, as we've
ahead
already
of the
discussed,
Toyotas as well.
Yeah, how narrow it is around here and how difficult it can be to overtake.
And that BMW is a brick. Suzuki holding Ellen up.
I think Ellen
the brakes carries
a lot more speed through these corners than a lot of the cars in front of her. She just doesn't have any physical way past. She's also got the fastest lap of the race so far with a 2:25.2. So that Beamer is definitely working well in some areas of this track.
The fastest flying lap since the start would have been lap 2, but then Butcher managing to get that 4-wheel drive advantage. However, is that going to be a squeeze on Butcher from Frentzen? Yes, it is. Maybe not. Forest elbow. Butcher down the inside, blocking it off. Definitely so.
Did we just commentators curse Ellen Frentzen and her BMW?
We've done that twice now. Let's see if we hit a third one. Or let's not, shall we? What a traffic jam with 3 laps in.
Yeah, everyone's still in one big block here from 3rd on down. The 2 Mercedes-Benzes have gone. They're off doing their own formation, flying in 1st and 2nd. So the battle is definitely on for the last podium position and who's going to take it. At the moment, Katayama has it, but there's a lot of cars behind her that definitely want it.
You'd have thought the Mercedes would have hit the fastest lap by now. So
either they're too busy squabbling with each other, or that Beamer has got some serious speed advantages at certain parts of this track.
And then it's being upheld by the gaggle in front.
Rustad here all over the back of Pitsonia. I think he might have the faster car out of the 2 right now, although as I say that, comes under fire from Muto and his Genesis. The Scrum just moving its way up the mountain again for the 4th time.
That won't be up there. I think, hang on, was the rugby on? Nope, it is a Scrum. Not as we know it. Rustad there in 7th. Been in better positions, but can't be helped when there are better performing Mazdas, better performing Mercedes.
Yeah, Rustad's had a bit of an up and down year so far. He's had some good top 10 results, and he's also had some very forgettable races outside the top 10.
Frentzen with the dive bomb on Suzuki through the S's into the dipper. That was blink and you'll miss it stuff,
Yeah.
but seems to have got it back out of the dipper again. That almost like it didn't happen. I'm sure it did, and I'm sure anyone watching...
I caught it as well.
So she's got ahead of the Toyota again. Here's where the straight line speed advantage should come into BMW's 4. That's enough of a bit of oxygen to get the power down and close in on Suzuki again, but Honda are flying, evidence in qualifying there. Okay, here comes Narusai ahead of Butcher then.
Into the chase they go. I think Ellen's got the better brakes. Yeah, reels in the Honda again through the corners. I do wonder if Frentzen and that team have set the straight to the back of the Honda. That's being impatient.
They've set the car up for battle. That's what's happened. That might need to be looked at, because that was dangerous.
I mean, it's not the first time we've seen manoeuvres like that through Murray's there.
Takahashi now with the fastest lap, a second faster than Frentzen, but I think Frentzen is going to have some level of acceleration advantage over a front-wheel drive car, but then that Honda is going to gain ground before it hits the braking area for the hill.
Yeah, back into the back of the Honda again. That Beamer is very good on its brakes. And
so was the Honda
she's using that to her advantage, or she keeps getting caught out by the Honda in front. Either way, I think this is where she's making the time up, actually, is over the top of the mountain. If she's not blocked by traffic, she can put the car in positions that not anybody else can, use other bits of the circuit to her advantage, which is possibly how she's made up all those spots and did have the fastest lap.
And
makes me wonder if she's been talking to the two Works Renault drivers in the World Series, because of course they had different lines over the top of the mountain here.
Different line, but there, no space to get down the inside, but will she get it for the S's like she did earlier?
Into the dipper, into the back of the Honda again. Going to go around the outside. That's an interesting choice.
Sort of a move.
Ooh, the Honda gets a bit sideways.
That was a wobble on. Yeah, that was clearly a wobble on from the Honda in front, because the BMW was too far back that time by. Narusai though, four-wheel drive advantage over the mountain. Going to lose it on aero down Conrad. And the gap has formed again in front of Frentzen. Let's see if she can make it up this time by.
Yeah, there's all a bit of a big concertina effect over the course of the whole lap there. I'm fairly confident in saying Frentzen does have the quicker car, but only in the over the top of the mountain where she doesn't have the space to really utilise it. If she had clear road in front of her, who knows what kind of lap time she'd be able to set. Well, the scrum continues just in front of the Privateer M4. Katayama and Takahashi have kind of pulled away a little bit. They are in their own little club.
That's their subcategory behind the class of the field so far. Doesn't bear mentioning because it's been on the cards since practice that Mercedes have got this nailed down, and finally in the championship. Yes, it's outside of Japan, but momentum is momentum. Muto down the inside of Nakano, inside line.
This is going to be a done deal, I think.
There we go. Yeah,
it's interesting. I wasn't expecting the Mercedes pairing to be the fastest here, because like the Toyota, it's a hatchback. It's a bit of a blocky hatchback. It's not. Wasn't expecting it to have the aerodynamics to really set the pace at this track. I was actually expecting more out of these Genesis G70s here.
no one knows where it come from. I mean, there are engineers in the background that ran back when there was a Mercedes 190 and 2-litre class back in 1993, but that's as close of a strand we get to circuit experience for what is a completely different car. No one knows where it's come from, and even Mercedes themselves, as Frentzen and what looks like Scaife, ahead of Scaife now. We've missed that again. She's now ahead of both of the Hondas.
Done both
okay.
Hondas. She found some space somewhere.
Bit more credibility. I mean, it's hard to say because High Speed Ring was such a lottery with the weather. Frentzen just took it as it came, and this is just on performance, driver performance as well, car performance maybe, but from the back of the grid to get halfway up, very good indeed for Ellen. Down the inside, Petsonia, Muto still ahead.
Yeah, Muto did what I was expecting of the Genesis, as I was just talking about. He clearly got the slipstream on the Mazda there, had a massive head of overspeed and just took him down the straight and just did a bit of blocking into the chase. Job done. Meanwhile, Rustad now past Nakano. So Nakano's day is going from bad to worse after a very good qualifying effort. He's now down in 8th. With another Genesis breathing down his neck.
And still a decent strand in the midfield for us to pay attention to it. Frentzen closing in on Winterbottom. Now, it's got to be, you've kind of cited it, and I think it is a bit potluck. We didn't see it when we were focusing on it before. We missed it. We saw her ahead of 2 Hondas, so fingers crossed those 2 Hondas don't get ahead, and Winterbottom being held up by Nakano means it's good momentum for Frentzen as they head up to the cutting. Is there going to be a dive bomb? Brave if it does, or a switch over on the exit perhaps.
Frentzen using a different line to all the others. She did have to lift a little bit just to give herself some space.
And the space now not there with Winterbottom in front. Through the parks, through the roller coaster. Is that going to be around the outside? You kidding me? I wonder if that's how she got Hondas in the first place. That was a fantastic job of moving, but is she on the grass on the exit? Skyline and the S's approaching. Nakano with an alternate line. Safe in the knowledge, but there goes. Okay, what? Now that seems to be a bit like she's kind of being either generous or unaware. Back down behind Winterbottom then, after a fantastic move earlier. Power down the straight maybe?
Yeah, this is where I'm saying she's reminding me of the Renaults in the World Series, because they were doing something very similar, getting a really good head of steam over the top of the mountain, and then through the dipper would just jam on the brakes, lose a load of space and positions and all the rest of it. Meanwhile, there's a dive.
Now then, that's the third or fourth time that's happened now. And I'm amazed the front of her car is still in one piece, but she's down the inside of Nakano this time. Winterbottom goes ahead into 8th, but Frentzen wants that.
It's all going on.
It's all going off as well.
Frentzen pushed the Genesis past the Mitsubishi into the chase. Had a go herself on the Genesis. Meanwhile, the 2 Hondas are having a civil war just behind them. Don't quite know where to look.
This has been the most, and fans will probably write in, this is probably the most action-packed we've seen it all season, given that it is, the first time we've seen these cars take to this venue. Ingram with the fastest lap, now braking for the start to climb up the hill. Frentzen manages to keep a clean set of heels that time with Winterbottom in front, but is the dive on? No. Rustad ahead here. Subaru probably been radioing him saying, watch out, there's a Frentzen about. And the Mazda of Petsonia in 6th, ahead of them. Back over the roller coaster we go. that momentum would have been lost. I think it would have been a very good move if she decided to be a bit braver there, but will it be paying off before the braking area for Skyline, for the S's, and the traffic jam in front? And that's the lowest I've seen that helicopter all race. Hello, Scaife, round the outside of the S's, out to the dipper. Still in the on board with Frenson then. The top 10 rages on ahead, their own personal battles. Winterbottom and Scaife with their own civil war as well. The Genesis is managing to squeeze Subaru into position. Rustad now playing dirty with Pitsonia. Frenson was clean that time by.
It certainly looks like that the Mazda there is holding up this train of cars.
Here's going to be a bit of a messy look as the Honda now ahead of Frenson, now ahead of Winterbottom. Scaife into 8th. Back to his qualifying position. Back to his qualifying position.
It's nice to see the Honda putting on some aggressive moves rather than being on the defensive, like we've seen it in so many races so far this season. And Scaife is, somewhat importantly, at least just for bragging rights, in front of his countrymen now. Granted, it's only 8th and 9th place. I'm sure both of them want to be further up. Considering this is their home track, these two drivers here have the most experience out of the whole field round here. And yet here they are at the bottom of the top 10. But if they stay here, of course, we know the reverse grid is coming up. We know for race 2 is coming up, and therefore they will be right at the sharp end with Winterbottom on the front row.
Frenson still trying to get more than a 10th place position, despite that being a good incentive after a fantastic getaway from the back of the pack.
Round the outside of Winterbottom again. That's quite the move. She's probably going to jam on the brakes into the dipper though.
Wobble on. Winterbottom generous there.
And there's the stop. Yep.
Nakano with dive bomb maybe. Nope, still 10. Yeah,
they're still side by side, but Nakano back end is a bit wiggly on corner entry apparently, so that's possibly what's causing him to go backwards.
And this traffic jam has been going since lap 1.
We're already on lap 9.
Lap and a half of goodness remaining for one of the most entertaining midfield battles, whilst the blitz, no better way of saying it, the Mercedes 1-2, it's been on the cards since Friday, and just very well done to get that level of performance in a championship where they've not been seen as competitive. Knowing what we've seen so far, this is going to put them in a stronger position in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, they've definitely had a slow start to this season. They were struggling to get points finish at the start of the year, but of course Carl Schumacher already has a win. Timo Lotterer has a couple of podiums, so they have found speed, found setup, found development over the course of the year, got themselves quicker and quicker up to the sharp end of the grid, and here they are, and it's paying off with a complete 1-2 max points finish for them.
The absurdity of it all is when you look at the Manufacturers' Championship, they're still plumb last. 6th out of 6. And even with the calculations I'm seeing now, that will still be the case by the time they fly back to Japan.
Yeah, one good race isn't going to fix that in its entirety. All those other rounds where they lost ground to the other manufacturers are still going to mean something. But this is a good step in the right direction, even if it is just more of a very long-term setup for the year 2. Frenson around the outside again. she's definitely found some grip where nobody else has. Don't run wide at
But
McPhillamy.
then,
That's very easily done. She's not going to make
and
it
then
stick now
bailing up
because
that
she's going to
sign.
jam on the brakes. So watch for Nakano to suddenly appear out of nowhere, I dare say. There it
Unless,
is.
okay, god damn it,
Oh, never
wobble
mind.
on.
Oh, he got into the back quarter panel of the BMW then. That could have been very, very dangerous. Frenton did a very good job of not spinning it there because that would have caused a huge bottleneck for everybody.
You'd think the lesson would have been learned, but she's got away with that scot-free. Mind you, we're not going to see this for race 2. Fingers crossed we don't, because that was a performance and a half. And whilst you want to see that in anything like swimming or rowing, for motor racing, yes. Touring car franchise aiming at more of an entertainment factor. Fantastic nonetheless. Across the line, silver arrows, formation finish. Then you've got your Mitsubishi Subaru battle, Muto and Pitsonia, and then it's the Australian battle. Scaife back to 8th, Winterbottom in 9th. Frenson is going to be on pole for race 2, and boy were we entertained nonetheless. Words will be had at Toyota again. E-Days Chaser Team Crown Athlete, yeah, that's by the by. Didn't expect them to do so well, but the battle for last is decided at the final chicane. Degrassi and Nomura having a battle for the ages, even though it's not for any points. Bragging rights and the remaining crumbs of the prize money. Nomura down the inside. Degrassi with the power on the exit. This is going to be a... Well then. Thanks, Worldfeed. Never mind. We will never know. Nomura, thankfully. There we go. Well then. Surreal as it... That was a surreal end, because we were trying to find out who got there at the end. We know who won. We know that we've seen something quite entertaining nonetheless, Swinny.
Absolutely. This track always provides, and it's provided once again. I will say quick shout out to Ingram after getting spun out on lap 1. He got himself back to 15th place, so he got a singular point.
Stealthed his way back in. We were too busy distracted by the doings of Ellen Frenson and the battles of the Hondas and the mid-pack that after the incident, Ingram didn't really get a word in until right at the last minute there as well. So, another break for us. Another race at Bathurst. Can't go wrong. Lotterer with his second win then of the season. The championship is still wide open. We shall calculate that for you when we get to the end of race 2 later on this weekend. Adrian Michael Rees on behalf of Michael Swinnerton for the Japanese Super Touring Championship. Good afternoon. Good racing, everyone.